That's the age range. So that's phenomenal. The
Yeah,
number of centenarians is, and we have 101 in Lakeside. We have 76 to 101, and we have some folks turning 100 over at Lakeside.
we have one down in healthcare right now. She's pretty mobile. She's 102, but she does not like to come down to the therapy gym because there's old people down there. And I am not making that up. That is the honest to God truth. Anyway, it's and I agree. I think 120%. It's that longevity and the quality of life it's 100% attributable to the quality of care in healthcare. There's no doubt in my mind. So, and I would also concur there is, if you come down to healthcare, we're not trying to trap anybody down there because we're full. We want you to go home. Trust me on that. We have plenty of work down there. Going back over, I'll jump back over to the companion services. I'm going to tell you a little story, and I'll be brief because I know can't talk forever. But I want to tell you a story of how I got into the caregiving business. I never wanted to get into the caregiving business. That was just not something I wanted to do. I was here, I'm running the therapy department, and we had a general out in the cottages, and he was a real big man. In fact, he had his caregivers coming in. I don't know where they're from, but it took two of them every morning to go get him up, get him dressed, get him out of the bed, and because he was so big. Well, one morning they didn't show up, so they called me. Can you get the general out of bed and get him up and make sure he's okay? Well, what was I going to do? Say no? So I went over there. Did everything I needed to do, got him up, got him dressed. Well, after about the third day of me going over there, I'm going, okay, this is ridiculous. I mean, and we had seen other people coming in out here, and I'd see them outside in healthcare smoking a cigarette. So anyway, I was meeting with Colonel Furbish at the time, and then Debbie, and we were just talking about it, and I was a little irritated, protective of the residents, going, hey, this is ridiculous. We have no idea who's coming in here, what they're doing, if they're overbilling, if they're showing up at all, if they have background checks run, if they're stealing things. We have no idea, and we have no control over what's going on. I heard the words come out of my mouth, and I tried to take them back. And Colonel Forbes said, "Good idea, John. Do it. Go for it." Huh? What? So that's how I kind of got into it. And when I was talking to them, I made the comment that, most of the folks who need help at home and healthcare or whatever, they're people with functional mobility limitations. Otherwise, they wouldn't need any help. Whether it's orthopedic, whether it's cardiopulmonary, whether it's memory, they have some sort of functional mobility limitations for the most part. So, and I said, well, you know what? That should really fall under therapy. Who's the functional mobility experts? It's the therapist. Again, I said it and I meant it, but I was not thinking that, I was going to be kind of put into the caregiving business. And I didn't want to do it. I gotta be honest with you, I did not want to do it. I kind of fought it because I'm a therapist. That's what I do. I'm a therapist. But the more I thought about it, the more logical sense it made to me. And so now, what it allows us to do, which is a little unique probably compared to other caregiving agencies, well, first of all, we're on site. So we're able to not necessarily have a 4-hour minimum, which is really nice, because a lot of the folks here, they don't need somebody sitting there staring at them for 4 hours. They just need a little help getting in the shower or this, that, or the other. Okay? And so it's a lot more cost effective. But what it allows us to do that's probably even more important is, and I'm making this example up. Let's say Miss Jones has had a hip surgery. She's in healthcare. She's getting ready to go home. She's doing great. She just needs a little bit of help getting in and out of the shower. There's some safety concerns. She's got a hip replacement maybe. You know, you're in the shower, you're soaping up, floor's wet, soapy, high risk for fall. So what we can do, that allows us to do, of course, we usually go in therapy, and it all goes together. The caregiving and the therapy kind of fit together to a large extent. So usually in therapy, we'll go do a home assessment on most of these folks. You know, look at the shower, can they get in, how are they, is there any issues? So if we recognize an issue and they want some assistance, the OT can actually take the caregiver and the patient up to their apartment before they ever even go home and go through a specific training session for them. Okay? The other thing that and I'll just use, there's 3 zillion examples that I could go on about that, but you get the point. You know, the other thing that is very nice is that the caregivers that are here, the caregivers and the therapists, they're buddies, they know each other. So if they have a concern or an issue or they're not sure about something, all I gotta do is pick up the phone and call me, call one of the other therapists, or go down and ask the therapist, hey, I've noticed Ms. Jones is blah, 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 blah. Or how should I do it? Can you help me with this? Hey, okay, sure, yeah, we can show them specifically if they have an issue. Let's say somebody's got an arm that's broken and they need to dress, but it's hard to dress with an immobilized arm. Well, here, listen, this is going to be the best way to do that. You know, and that's not something that you see every day, but you get the point. So it allows them to get a little more personalized training if they need it. And the fact that we're all here all the time is very beneficial. Again, and I always tell them when I'm talking to them, if you're not sure, don't do it. If you need help, call. So that's kind of the way that I had envisioned it when I said it and didn't really want to do it. I didn't mean that I do it, but that's what I was thinking. But it's actually worked out pretty well. The other thing is that it allows me to kind of have I'm going to call it a tiered structure of the training. And a lot of the caregivers that you see out in independent living, almost all of those have been with me for a long time. I've got a couple who have been with me since we started. And I think that was 15 years ago, 17 years ago, something like that. And then I have, and the rest of them, most of them have been with me over a decade. So they know the arc, they know the patients. So when I'm hiring somebody, what I generally do is I actually, and Suzanne may not want to hear this, I start them off in healthcare.
It's okay.
Yeah, she's heard this speech before, that's right, I apologize, yeah, she's heard this speech. But now, you go, well, why would you start them off in healthcare? Why? Well, several reasons. First of all, my office is there, and I'm walking all the time around healthcare. You'd think I'd be thinner, but I'm not, I'm walking all the time around. But it allows me to better vet people before I ever send them out to assisted. So they start off in healthcare. Once they've kind of proven themselves, I know that I can trust them, I know that they're good, then I might send them to assisted living. And then kind of the final promotion, if you will, would be going to independent living. Because in healthcare, they have eyes and ears on them all the time. Not just me. You got the therapists watching. They got the nurses watching. They got family members watching. And none of those folks have any issue coming to me saying, hey man, I'm a caregiver there. So it kind of allows me to weed out the people that maybe don't meet our standard. And by our standard, I mean the arts standard. But it also allows them to get the more specific training under the therapist, under the nursing, learning the concept of the team approach, which is really, really important here at the ARC. And I think everybody in healthcare would agree with me. So when the caregivers are out there, they're not just out there by themselves. They've got they have a team behind them. You know, they've got me. Anything that I need, Suzanne's always there to help out. Okay, hey, can I pick your brain on something? I'm always going and picking her brain about something or other. You know, but I've also got Debbie. I have a lot of bosses, by the way. I've got Debbie, Suzanne, both of them. They say jump, I say yes ma'am, how high? So, but the point of it is that they've got a whole, you know, so, and it also gives us eyes and ears out there as to what's going on. And that's what a lot of the family members like. They, you know, hey, you know, Miss Jones, she's putting her shoes in the oven. So that's a change. So then we can go, and I'll either, you know, depending on the situation, I'll go to Suzanne or I'll go to Debbie. Hey, maybe we need to follow up on this. Maybe the nurse liaison needs to follow up on this. Is there something going on? Do they need to be sent out? You know, the best fall is the fall that we can prevent. Of course, we diagnose everybody with a UTI, but Suzanne, don't repeat that. Everybody has a UTI. No, I'm joking. That's an inside joke, but they're confused. Oh, UTI. But so that's kind of a different, a little bit unique and different than, say, just hiring somebody from the outside, which there's nothing wrong with hiring anybody from the outside. You can choose anybody that you want, but there are some differences.
I'll just, this occurred recently, just to kind of give you an example of what he's talking about. We have a couple, and he went into the hospital, and he's a caregiver. And so we wanted her to come to healthcare for respite. Well, she refused. So John's team went out there and made sure that she was safe until he came home. So we have a lot of that coordination between Debbie, Resident Services.
Everybody's involved.
We're all involved. And we certainly, when there's a crisis, when you have a crisis, we're here for you to help in what way you need or want us to.
Yeah, and that's a perfect example. And I didn't think we used it, but it's, you know, it's a team effort. It's not just me. So, you know, and that's the other thing is that, you know, some of the things that come up aren't things that are planned. They're not on the schedule. So, you know, I do my best. I do my absolute best to accommodate anything like that. Whether it's a last minute, you know, many of you may not know in healthcare, we go on, we take people to their doctor and come back. Maybe they're a little confused or they have functional ability because the Arcadian Bay will take them, but they're just going to drop them off on the curb. Not on the curb, but right at the curb. You know, we go in with them. If they want, we'll go in. Now, these are not skilled people, which I'll get into in a little bit, but you know, we go on transports, and sometimes there's last minute transports that are emergency. Oh, you know, their blood labs off, telling me we need to get them. They need to go here. They need to go sit in the ER until they're admitted. So the kind of the unique thing about the caregiver organization here is that the ARC has a lot of control. You know, the ARC tells me, hey, we need this. Oh, okay. And I always do, you know, we do our best. Now, sometimes if it's out of our scope, we can't do it. But, you know, the ARC helps dictate a lot of the care, which is what we want, because that's the team approach. And you'll get the point now, so I'll move on from that. Unless you have any questions. Well, we can ask questions. Okay, go ahead.
John, you've mentioned the word caregiver and companion and sitter. Is it all the same thing? And what are some of the examples over and above help with the shower?
Yeah, use the word sitter, companion, caregiver, for me, it's basically all the same thing from my standpoint. There are organizations out there that delineate them. And you probably know better than I do, but like a sitter, that's all they do. They just sit there. A companion is just somebody to be there with them. That's how they delineate that. And a caregiver is more of what truly we are in terms of our licensure with the state of personal assistive services, which just basically means we help with the daily activities of living. And so one thing I want to stress, and this is an issue that I have all the time, we are not a substitute for skilled care. And I know that frustrates a lot of people, but we are not a substitute for skilled care. That is not what we do. No, and a few examples would be, the big one that frustrates people is, oh, they can't change my wound bandage. No, we can't do that.
But we have other options for that.
Right, exactly. We don't organize people's medications. That's another one that gets people frustrated, although there are some other options for that. There's some that you can get the pill pack, and then there's other things. Those are some of the big examples. We don't do any kind of G-tubes or feeding tubes or anything like that. Anything that kind of requires the specificity of a nurse or a therapist or something specific like that, we cannot do. Basically, we assist with activities of daily living. What does that? Well, that can entail a lot of things. Anything that you do during your normal activity. Getting dressed. If you've broken your arm, getting dressed all of a sudden is a little bit harder. If you have a hip replacement, sometimes putting your shoes on is a little harder. The things that we do in independent living more so are a lot of making the bed. A lot of people throw their back out making the bed. The big one is obviously helping shower, making sure they're safe, getting them dressed, things like taking out the trash. Laundry is another one that we do. Some people want us to go get their mail. I mean, almost anything you can think of that is not skilled we can do. We had one lady, she had 1 hour, 1 day a month. And our job was take her car and go over to the Diamond Shamrock, fill it up with gas, and bring it back. Okay. Shopping. We may go do shopping for certain people. Nowadays, not as much because HEB delivers and all these places deliver. But, back in my day, in the olden days, we would go shopping for them. And one of the things that I do want to bring up in terms of like the shopping, we can go do that, but my carriers are never to accept any kind of money, cash, anything like that. I have a petty cash fund. If they need something, they'll come get the petty cash from me, and we'll submit the receipt to the ARC. It's for your protection, everybody's protection. I know that's a little off subject, but so anything specific. Some people we've had people where we walk the dog. Now, generally, there's a dog walker that does most of that now, which is fine because most of my caregivers don't just love being out in 100-degree heat.
Yeah.
Walking the dog, but we've had one that sometimes we go on vacation. Water the plants, change the kitty litter, almost anything like that that you can come up with. Did that answer your?
John, why don't you take us through an admission?
Okay.
From the phone call, how you set the client up, what you do, the service plan, and then get into the billing, and also how your staff has the GPS and.
Okay. So great. So basically, we get a call. And generally what's going to happen is I'm going to have a conversation with you over the phone, what's going on, and kind of make a brief assessment of, okay, is this something that is caregiver related, or is there something more going on that needs some other medical attention, And then at that point, I say, okay, that sounds okay. Then I'm generally going to want to go up there and meet with whoever the client is, and again, also as kind of have my caregiver hat and my therapy hat on, and make an assessment of, okay, again, is this person appropriate for caregiving, or is it more appropriate for, hey, they need a higher level of care? And it is not unusual for me to go upstairs and look at them and go, okay, there's something else going on here. This person maybe needs to go out to the hospital, or they need a higher level of care than what we can provide. And I've had people get very angry with me with that because they don't want to go to the hospital. They don't want to go to the healthcare. And I understand that. I get it. But if they're not appropriate for caregiving, my hands are tied. And I'm not going to put you at risk. I'm not going to put my caregivers at risk. I'm not going to put the ARC at risk. Not going to do it. And sometimes a tough love situation. But so then at that point, then I kind of go visit with them. Hey, okay, well, what are you wanting to achieve? What specific task? And then what we try to do, we build a task list. Okay, I'd like to take out the trash. I want you to make the bed on Tuesday. I want you to do laundry. We make a lot of coffee. People like us to make their coffee and breakfast. Sometimes we'll go down and pick up meals for them. Whatever it is, we'll come up with a specific task list. And the task list can be different every day. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we're doing this. Tuesday, Thursday, we're doing this. It's totally flexible. And along those lines, we want to talk about what kind of schedule do we want? What do you need? What days do you want? We're pretty flexible. Like I said, we have one person who did one day. Some people do Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Some people do Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. Some people do Monday, Friday. Some people do Tuesday, Thursday. Some people just want help on the weekends. It's whatever they want. So we kind of, now, again, we have to have an opening. So, sometimes I cannot accommodate, but we certainly do our best. So we kind of make the task list. We set up the schedule. We talk about that, and we kind of set up what's called a plan of care. Now, this plan of care is pretty basic. It's not like doing a therapy plan of care or a nursing plan of care. It's basically in conjunction with the task list of, okay, these are the things that we want done, that we need done. Again, all of it. None of it is skilled. All of it is basically activities of daily living. Okay, and then there's a few forms about consent. Then the next thing we talk about is billing. Okay. When we got into this, Debbie, I was telling them I never wanted to do this. You kind of put me in a armhole and made me. But I said, I'll do this, but I don't want, I'm a therapist. I don't want to be a biller. I don't want to be a bill collector. I don't want to do it. And I said, second of all, I want eyes on me. I don't want even to have the appearance of impropriety. Because some folks, they don't have anybody looking out for them. So I said, I want the billing to go through the ARC so that A, it's easier for everybody here, but also two, then that means I have accounting looking at me, I've got Debbie's resident services looking at me, excuse me, healthcare, and that's totally okay with me because I want that openness, transparency. Sorry, I need water or something here. Oh, thank you.
It's pollen.
Yeah.
Molds.
So that's kind of what we go through to start off. Now, if there's issues, it's going to be usually in the beginning, and the caregiver is not going to generally, I'm going to have this task list, but we're not going to know everything about you. You're not going to know everything about the caregiver. But usually after about a week or two or 3 or 4 visits, you get a feel for it, and it just goes generally smooth as butter until there's a change. Sometimes family members want a caregiver in there just to go check on them, make sure that they're okay. A lot of the times we have people with who are in there, say like with hip replacement or whatever, they may be on caregiving, and then in a month later, after they finish their therapy, that they don't need us anymore. That's great, that's a win, you know. So that's kind of the process. Did I leave anything out?
No, I don't think so.
You were talking about billing?
Yeah, the billing and
It
how.
all goes through the ARC.
Yeah, so, so say a caregiver goes and helps a resident, how do you know they're there?
Okay, yeah, that's what I need, thank you.
Yeah.
I have an application, a program, to where I can look at it, and that's how we make the schedule, and that's basically where we get the billing from. But, so they have an app on their phone, so if they're on their phone, there's a reason that they're on their phone some of the times. And that's where they get the task list, that's where they get the address, that's where they know, okay, I want to do this, this, and this. So when they go in, they gotta sit there, first of all, we're still doing COVID questions on there. No, I haven't been exposed, no, and they haven't been. So we've got to go through all that, they get the task list. Then they have to address, did we do the task list? So like, let's say somebody's in healthcare and the task was to take them outside. Get a lot of that. Get them out of their room, take them outside. Did you do that today? Yes or no? No. Well, why didn't you do it? Cold, rain, you know, just very simple stuff. So that we kind of know, yes, this was done, this wasn't done, and why. So what we have is, and I believe the terminology is EVV or electronic something verification, but basically I can set a radius, and it's disturbingly accurate, around the specific address and even the specific room. And they have to be within X number of feet of that room, or they can't clock in. It won't let them.
So what I had, you charge by the hour and not necessarily by the amount of tasks, or?
No, it's by the hour. Mhm. It's by time.
So,
Mhm.
like,
So it might be
people-
we have an hour minimal, but it could be an hour and a half, 1.5.
Okay.
Or it could be 3.5.
People are just sitting, other people are doing a lot more, but
Mhm.
it's still by the hour.
It's still by the hour, yeah.
You proportion it, like it's an hour and a half, charge for 2 hours.
There's a 1 hour minimal, but after that, it's basically in 15-minute increments. We generally like to do half hour because it's a whole lot easier scheduling on the half hour than the 15 minutes, but sometimes we do the 15 minutes, but, you know, so when they leave, they have to clock out.
Thank you. A few years ago, my mother-in-law was in Tucson and in an assisted living facility, and she needed trips to the doctor, and her companion went with her to the doctor, just like you said, John. Went with her in the vehicle, went inside, went up the steps, waited during the appointment, and all the way back. Now that at that time, 10 years ago, was $17 an hour. Are we about in that range? And that was also covered by her long-term care insurance.
Yeah, if you have a long-term care policy, there's a decent chance that it is covered, but not necessarily. They're all different, and some of them are really difficult to get approval, and they fight you tooth and nail. I mean, I like the idea of the policy, but some of these folks are not, I feel like they're not honest brokers in terms of trying to get it started. But in theory, yes, but all the policies are different. All of them have different elimination periods, different copay, different this or that. So I can't totally, but yes, that should be.
And we can help in healthcare. We do a lot of long-term care policy, billing and all that. And if you, so generally a licensed agency has to provide the care, which he is. And then you start a case, you call your long-term care insurance. And then they'll want to see your statements, your bills, and care plans and everything like that. So we can assist in making that happen. Because a lot of the long-term care policies do include home care. And so how
And then
much?
once you open up a claim, as long as you're using it it usually stays open, but if you go X number of, I don't know, 90 days, 100, whatever it is, they'll close that claim, and then you gotta reopen
Yeah.
it. And that's where it's kind of a pain in the caboose. We are a little bit higher now. We have raised our rates in the last 10 years, as you can probably imagine. Right now, we're 24 an hour, which is significantly cheaper, I guarantee you, than the other agencies out there. Debbie can probably fill you in more on the specifics of what those are. And with a 4-hour minimal, depending on what you need, so. Okay, I guess we're moving on to the question and answer, so let's go with that, yeah.
John, how about the overtime?
Overtime.
Okay, great, yeah, we do have, if the caregiver goes over 40 hours, I pay them overtime, but I don't charge you overtime. But there is what I call holiday pay and after-hour pay. So that is just, to keep it simple, it's just time and a half. And that is generally considered after 8 p.m. to 8 a.m.
$36.
Whatever, yeah, that sounds right. 24 times 1.5, yeah.
So it's $24 an hour,
Correct.
but that's all the time. I mean, it doesn't change first day versus night.
So that's what we were saying, that the nighttime is time and a half.
Oh, after 8 o'clock.
Yes. And we don't really have too much people at night needing anything at night, every now and then. And certainly if there's some special circumstance, we can make arrangements, but generally that's what we,
Do you have anybody on 24-hour care?
no.
No.
We did for a
Yeah.
while back, but that was kind of
Yeah.
a special
That's
situation.
really hard to, years ago, when I worked at Golden Manor Jewish Home, I started an agency like John's. And we did have need for 24-hour care, but this was in like 2000. And we also did some live-ins. And we were, flexible with the schedule and things like that. It's hard to find people that want to do a live-in or do, you do 3 days and 4 days and back and forth. But I have in healthcare, someone with 24-hour sitters. And John does part of it and another agency does the other part. I've got a couple in Lakeside that chooses to have 24-hour sitters, and they're from an agency. So there's other agencies on campus, and which John's team, they do a wonderful job, but they can't meet the need of everybody. So there are other alternatives to Alamo Companions if he's unable to staff.
And you have the right to use anybody you want.
You have the right to, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not, believe it or not, I'm not a salesman. I don't, but you can use anybody you want.
Yeah. Debbie's gonna talk a little bit about.
Did you have a question?
Yeah, organizationally, I'm having a problem here.
Okay,
Alamo Companions has its own EIN number for billing and taxing and all that sort of thing.
yes.
It is.
It has its own tax ID number, its own,
Through the ARC or through your staff.
the billing goes through the ARC, and then the ARC
So you're
turns
an
around.
extension of the ARC,
with
kind of a home health.
It's a contract is what it is.
Okay.
So basically, the ARC pays me. It's a little more nuanced than that, but yeah, it's basically the same thing like in therapy that, I don't bill Medicare, the ARC bills Medicare. And then the ARC just pays me.
You're billing out like a home health agency.
But I'm not billing Medicare, it's all private pay.
So he gives us a bill for all the companion services, and then we detail it to each resident that used the companion services. So it flows through the ARC to keep it simple and, as he said, accountability.
Yeah.
It's on your statement every month. It's very
Yes.
clear, it's very specific.
Okay, I
We have very few, knock on wood, billing problems.
just wanted to mention that we have a lot of residents in independent living that want to age in place. And having companions or sitters is an option to keep you with minimal assistance, moving, engaged, and having an enhanced quality of life. It's really important. Sometimes you do need bathing assistance, or maybe you need someone just do an HEB run for you, or maybe go into your closet and do a seasonal change of clothing organization that you can't do anymore. It's really helpful to have that sitter or companion with an extra set of eyes and hands to help you and maintain your quality of life if you're going to stay in independent living versus transition through the continuum of care. We have many, many residents that use sitters, and I wanted to say, to John's credit, he has had many of his sitters be retained throughout the time that he's had companion services. But if you needed, someone overnight, sometimes John can't staff it. He cannot, and we do have to resort to another agency. But as mentioned, those other agencies sometimes have a 4-hour minimum, unlike John's timeline. And we don't have accountability for those sitters that come in the community. If they're late, they call our office, and residents are wondering why they're running late. Well, we don't have their schedule in hand. We do have John's, though. So I can track down someone fairly quickly. That all being said, though, if you do hire a private sitter and they come into the community, they must be vetted. They have to have a background check. They go through the same process effectively that all of our employees do. If they do not pass the background check, then we don't let them on campus. And there's a reason for that. We're here to protect you, and your safety is very important to us. So I would consider having a companion if you're having a surgical procedure, coming back home, you need rehabilitation time, recovery time. You deserve that time to have a positive recovery. It's so much easier to have someone doing small meal preparation, getting you in and out of the shower after a surgery, than doing it alone, especially if you don't have a spouse to help. So consider companion services. I know that Colonel Cronin is a poster child example. She allows companions to come in, and she thrives, and she will tell you that. She has done extremely well because of companions. So don't feel as though it's a stigma to have somebody in your home to help. It's not at all. It's really to enhance your life and make things easier for you if you're in independent living. Resident services is available, and we're happy to help anytime, anywhere, but we cannot be everywhere with 600 residents all the time. So, if you're having issues, if you need some extra assistance, I would encourage you to try it out sometime and see how it works, see how the system works. The billing goes directly on your maintenance statement. There is no cash transaction involved at all. Makes it very simple. So you don't have to write a check anytime when a companion is there. Makes it very, very easy. But if you have questions in the future, don't hesitate to come down to our office. We're happy to help at any time, and we're here for you.
And Debbie, one thing I want to comment on is, and I want to say, I have some really, really good people working for me, and that's not about me. That's them. And the biggest thing is, and I know you will agree with it, is they care. And that's part of the reason when they're in healthcare, is because I get to observe, and if they're not going to meet our standards, they're not here. I'll be honest with you, I can hire a bunch of people, so I can staff midnights and whatever, but I don't want them here if they're not going to meet my standards. If I wouldn't put them with my parents, I'm not going to have them here. I'm not going to do it. And so a lot of people don't meet those standards. But I have a lot of people, like I said, have been with me quite a long time. I have an a huge amount of people who have used this as a stepping stone. I have caregivers who have gone on to be PTs, PTAs, CODAs, dental assistants. I have one, she just finished getting her nurse practitioner at the University of Texas Health Science Center. In fact, she just came back and was visiting with me, and she was talking about how much she learned by being a caregiver. Not so much of the book stuff, but how to deal with people, how to interact with a team. I keep coming back that interacting with the team, being part of the team, you know. So I'm really proud that, you know, we are able to be mentors for some of these folks, especially these younger folks. The other thing is that in order to try to retain these folks, a lot of this stuff I put back into the company so that I can keep these folks, because it's not hard finding good people these days. It is rough. A lot of people don't want to work out there right now. At least that's what I'm seeing. So I might be wrong. There may be some other caregiving agencies out there, but I don't know too many of them that are offering their people health care. So I give my folks health care benefits. I want them healthy. That has not been easy because, as y'all well know, the cost of health care has just blown through the roof. It seems like every year I'm just like, oh my God, you know. So that's a huge cost. They have paid time off. A lot of the caregiving agencies, they don't get any paid time off. These folks work hard; they deserve it. And the thing that I have a retirement plan for these folks. I have a Roth 401k, and I match, and they're immediately vested. So some of my caregivers get frustrated with me giving the lecture of the miracle of compounding interest. Especially, but if I could just reach one or two people, especially at the age of 19, you know, because I'm like, I wish someone would have explained this to me when I was 22. I probably wouldn't listen because I was busy doing other things, but you get the point. That's hopefully how I'm able to keep a lot of these folks. There was another question.
If you use an outside agency, you're going to vet them.
I do not.
No, but you're not.
Not an outside agency. I have no control over an
Yeah.
outside agency.
For the outside agency comes from that agency, not from the ARC.
Correct.
That's correct. If you use an outside agency, that agency bills you, not the ARC. And as far as if they are a licensed agency, there's rules and regulations. They have to do criminal background checks on their folks. And we assume when they, that they are doing that.
Thank you.
Who would we call to schedule this? Debbie or you?
You can call Debbie's office. You can call my office. Either one of those will work. Generally, their office is going to tell you to call my office, and you'll either talk to me or Kanika.
What's your number?
I have several numbers, but the main one that I would call is the ARC extension 5288. We are in the back of the roster. There's like 3 numbers there. It's in we're located inside the therapy department upstairs above the bistro. And if you call, leave a message. Sometimes we're busy with patients. Sometimes I'm out and about all over the place. So if we don't answer right away, leave a message and we will get back to you.
You're good.
Okay. You said they will not manage the pills, but would they be able to come in every day and make sure that you had taken?
That is correct, yes. The main thing is that we can't set up the pills. We can provide assistance to the pills. And I won't get into medication reminders. I've read the Texas code on this, and some of it is somewhat vague, but the bottom line is, we can't sit there and take your pills out of the pill box and put them in a pill box for you, and that we can help you open up things. We can help pour water. If there's a liquid form, like of a medicine, they are allowed to pour out but you have to take the medication.
Yeah, okay.
This has been so helpful. Can you give one example of a sitter in a healthcare center and the role that sitter could play in coordination with the nursing team?
In the healthcare center, it's a little bit different because there's certain things that we do and certain things that the nursing staff does, but there is a lot of overlay also. So you know, we're there to assist. Most people have caregiving there, it's because the family or whoever, they want one-on-one immediate attention, you know. So if they want us to go get a glass of ice water, we can go get it for them. So some things we can do is we can't, and again, it also depends on what is the functional mobility level. So if they're total assist, they're not going to be doing all the dressing, getting people up, and all of that. So like say somebody who has a Hoyer lift, okay, that's always a two-person deal. They're never going to be doing it by themselves. In fact, we just went through in service with Enrique on the Hoyer lift with us, caregivers and the staff. So, but they may assist the CNA on rolling them, getting the lift sling underneath them, assist them and make sure that they're okay, you know, getting them over there. They may help assist with the transfers. Some things that we do kind of on our own is like if they're up in the chair, you know, helping them brush their teeth, calling their activities of daily living, nothing skilled, brushing their hair, combing their hair. We do a lot of sitting with people, just providing companionship. We take them outside, push them around. We do feeding. We do some, it depends on the person and where they're at. I have a book we downloaded, it's called the Feeder Assistant Training, and it's a pretty good, thick little book. You know, if there's an issue going on, then the speech therapist is making involved or whoever. It's individualized, and some of it's based upon, again, if any of us think that this is skilled, then we're not going to do it. You know, again, it's kind of a team approach. So there's a lot of things that we do, you know, but I would say a good portion of it is just, again, the basic activities of daily living. Now, you know, if they're real mobile, you know, we can walk them to the bathroom and help them get dressed and all that if they're at a certain functional level. But if they're, you require extensive assistance, then it's going to probably be two people.
How many clients do you have in healthcare right now? Not a ton.
Not a ton.
Yeah.
Let me think. 1, 2. I want to say we only have like, they're just daily, every day, 4 or 5. It's not too many. We have a few that are sporadic, and on certain days they just want somebody going and sitting with them and interacting with them, and you know, just that. But a lot of times we say, I just like, get them out of the room, push them outside. They just, you know, take them down to the. Sometimes we'll have them come down to the therapy gym and let them do a little bicycle if it's appropriate, or you know. But again, it's pretty individualized. You know, everybody's different. Everybody's needs are different. Everybody's desires are different. Everybody's mobility level is different. Everybody's medical history is different.
A lot of doctor's appointments.
A lot of doctor's appointments.
Companionship to doctor's appointments, yeah.
John, is it be correct to say that you are a licensed home health agency contracted with the ARC?
I am a licensed PAS.
Personal assistance.
Services.
That has been around. If you look under the licensure for home care, and you can read up on the regulations on what that includes. But it doesn't include, you know, it's all private pay or long-term care insurance. Now you can have nurses and things that work for the PAS and do private duty nursing tasks. And I did that. A lot of agencies do that. But it's not, you have PAS, you have licensed home health, you have certified home health, which is Medicare. So there are some agencies that do licensed home health that do more of the private duty skilled stuff.
I had some experience with that 24-hour care. Jack Wald, before he passed, had 24-hour. And the help that he received and the girls that were there, you know, to be with him all the time were wonderful. They were really wonderful.
That's a blast from the past, so it's been a while.
Many years, yeah.
I recently was with Colonel Price periodically in my PC.
Martha, can you wait for the microphone? Because it's going to be worthwhile.
I just want to say that I was recently with Colonel Price And, the care she received was outstanding, absolutely outstanding. And they were so dedicated to making sure that she was not in pain and doing everything they could or contacting somebody for things that they could not take care of. And I think we're very lucky at the Ark. And I do have caretakers every day for 2 hours in the morning because of my traumatic brain injury. I could not exist if it had not been for the companion service. But I want to say one other thing. As a dietitian, one of the things they do is they check your refrigerator to make sure you've eaten the meal, or they also check and make sure that you don't have a lot of old food in the refrigerator. And some of our residents who have a little difficulty remembering really need that. And some of us who have no difficulty remembering, they need that too.
Yes, I need it too.
Yeah, I know Jerry and Kanika, the caregivers, went
They're outstanding.
above and beyond. And I know they did it because they care.
They care, and a lot of us don't have family members right near us. I mean, or just don't have them.
Yeah. I read today that about 70% of the population die at home. So there's hospice available. Say in Colonel Price's situation, she had caregivers at the end and she was able to stay at home comfortably. So that's something to think about if that situation arises with a neighbor or something like that. That it's just a temporary thing and they're not there alone and they're at home where they want to be with their dog or whatever. And
Suzanne, that was a great example of
yeah,
it being a huge team approach.
right.
Because I know all of us were there, and
Yeah.
it was healthcare, it was resident services, it was hospice, it was a huge team that made that happen.
My question is, say I need someone 3 days a week. Am I going to have the same person every time?
Maybe. I don't promise you that, and I'll tell you why. Yeah, sometimes depends on what days people are off. Certain people have certain days off, but also too, people get sick. People go on vacation. And I get asked that question a lot, and it's a great question. I want the same person all the time. I want the same person all the time. And my response to that is, that would be my first inclination too. However, again, having done this for a little while, I promise you it's a lot better to at least have 2 or 3 people that really know you and or your situation and or your family's situation. Because again, especially here in the last, as we've seen with COVID and RSV and flu, I've got some people out right now that are sick and, so it's a lot better if someone is already familiar with you, I can just slide them in versus sending somebody in that you don't know and they, I'm not going to tell you that never happens, but it's a lot easier and it's generally a whole lot better if you have, again, kind of a team thing. It's just a better idea. So that's, I don't know if that answered your question, but.
Okay, I'm gonna,
I
Do
just
you
want to
next.
say my husband wanted a male companion, but he did get females and he adapted.
oh, good.
Males are hard to come by, I don't know.
Yeah. So hospice in the home, Colonel Cronin asked me to speak on that. So, and I'll speak generally. The benefit of having hospice in your home is that you have a nurse coming to your home calling the doctor, getting your medications delivered, getting supplies that you need, if you need a concentrator, if you need a nebulizer, whatever you need, suction and all that. It is skilled care in your home. And it's far much more difficult to be in a hospice situation or be in a end-of-life situation without that help. So we had somebody that was running out of medications. They were not on hospice. And these are scheduled medications, which are hard to get because there's so much red tape, morphine and different things like that. So what are we going to do? Well, we called hospice in. They were able to get the medications and get them delivered and made sure that this person didn't run out of his medications. So it's very beneficial. You know, think of if you want to stay at home and age in place at home. Of course, there's home health paid for by Medicare to help you out with things, but hospice is, I think, mandatory if you're going to stay at home and be comfortable and be cared for and be pain-free.
Yeah, we could, yeah, I agree.
So you could possibly have hospice and a caregiver, if that's what you needed?
Yes. Yeah, you can have hospice and a caregiver. We have a number of people on hospice in assisted living and healthcare. And so if you're on hospice, your Medicare dollars goes to the hospice. We can't have you on therapy and rehab and hospice at the same time. But it's a benefit, you know, that we all pay for through our Medicare. And there's a number of different hospice agencies out there. You don't like your agency, you can change. But for the most part, it's a very good benefit that you're entitled to.
I'm sorry I took your cough drop, Suzanne.
That's okay.
That's okay.
If you are going to need hospice as suggested, would a doctor be the one to say, hey, I think it'd be a good idea to get hospice? Or is this something you have to initiate?
Yeah, you can. It can go one of two ways. Your physician can make a referral and write it. You have to have a doctor's order, or you can contact a hospice company. They can come in and assess, and then the hospice company gets the doctor's order. So the hospice doctor will be the one that's prescribing whatever you need while you're on hospice. So your PCP, now some are different, but like that's 1%. The hospice doctor takes over the care required for the diagnosis that they're putting you on, the end-of-life diagnosis. So hospice will pay for the medications that are associated with your end-of-life diagnosis. And certainly the Ativan, morphine, all that stuff is associated with that. So they're bringing in they're bringing in a CNA. So they'll come in and give you a bath. They'll have a chaplain if you want one. They'll have a social worker. So they will help you with a number of different things that you couldn't imagine. Anything? What?
You said you were 90% full in healthcare?
Yes.
How many are direct reports?
The direct admits. 3.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. The direct admits have tended to be at Lakeside. And I have just one at Crustway. That's a direct admit. He was actually, they were in Lakeside. And the wife was in Lakeside, he was in healthcare. They didn't want to live together anymore. So he went to Crestway and she moved off campus. But we watch that very closely. We don't, like right now, we're not accepting any direct admits.
What do you mean by direct admit?
This is someone who is not a campus resident. And so, but they have military affiliation. And sometimes, we've had high generals and, they lived at home and they're 100 and they need to come to healthcare. for end-of-life care or something like that. So it's very few and far between, but it does help us with the bottom line when we have empty beds. Yeah. I think as Steve has said, we've collected over $3 million from direct admits in the past couple of years in different areas.